Welcome to RPG Archive. Today we've got Alex from TurboZone.
Turbo.
Alex, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Just been living my life, living my everyday life as a Japanese high school student.
Yeah. Make sure you go check out TurboZone. He does all kinds of great video content over there. And we also do a show called The Button Mappers, where we talk about buttons, maps, and everything in between.
Wow, those button mappers guys sound cool.
Yeah,
I would check them out.
Absolutely. But today we are talking about Persona 5. And we're breaking it up into chapters because this game is massive. It's about 100 hours long.
Why am I doing this?
Well, that's going to be one of my first questions for you. Historically speaking, RPGs have not been your strong suit. What made you so interested, and we'll get more into it later, but what made you so interested in starting Persona 5?
Dude, I couldn't finish Pokemon Red for a map out. So.
Yes.
No, you know what? Time constraints are my weakness, not RPGs. So why did I pick Persona 5? I've never played a Persona game before. This is my first time. And I have an interest in playing more RPGs, outside of the exposure that I have through like Final Fantasy. And Persona's something that I never understood what it was until I started playing 5. I knew it was like it had dark themes and like Japanese school kids and stuff. Like I've seen like a person play a little bit of Persona 4 one time and I was like, huh. And then I just kept on going with my life. Yeah. But honestly, like I think the push for me was for this game at least, it was like I was already slightly interested in it. I wanted to play an RPG. Teddy had played through it and liked it a lot. I knew you liked it, and I was like, okay, two of my friends I know really like this game. I want to play an RPG, so I want to play Dragon Quest 11, and then I dropped that, and then I played this.
And we'll get into some of those as we go. But very, very interesting. I was when you were like I'm playing through Persona 5. Like what? Like it definitely took me aback because. I just, historically it's not been the one that you'd go to. Usually you're into like more of the action games, more of the and maybe again you said time constraints. That might be it. Is that we're both working men. don't have all the hours in the day.
I work a lot. We do the button mappers. We have games we have to play for the button mappers as well. I like to do stuff on TurboZone. And then I also just like playing games. And sometimes, I don't have time to play a long-ass game. And, sometimes my little peanut brain can't handle playing a long-ass game.
Well, you impressed me because you did end up beating Final Fantasy VII. And you basically beat Pokemon Gold. And so I know you can do it. So I'm going to be with you all the way on this journey we do through Persona 5, which is really one of the longest RPGs you can play. So...
Journey.
I'll be with you 100%.
That's from Teddy's video for Journey. Journey.
But let's talk about Persona a little bit. You said that you had heard of it, but never really invested any time into it. And
I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what Shin Megami Tensei was, or like they were in like the same franchise. Because again, I was never an RPG guy. Outside of like the select Final Fantasy games that I played, I didn't know what the fuck this stuff was.
Well, it's interesting because, the newest Persona, starting from Persona 4, the Golden, did not have the Shin Megami Tensei moniker because I think they want it to be its own thing because it really is different. It's very similar in the RPG mechanics, but it obviously adds a life sim to it that Shin Megami Tensei does not give a shit about. That game is all hardcore RPG stuff. So Persona separates itself by being more of a... I guess it's definitely easier than Shin Megami Tensei, but it's also got that life sim that kind of helps you take it easy. As the game says, it's constantly take your time. So there you go. That's Persona in a nutshell. I wanted to talk a little bit about Persona 5's development, and really, it's going to be a lot about it. This episode won't be as long, maybe, as some of the other ones, just because we're breaking it up into chapters. So, in this instance, we're going to start talking about the development of the game. According to Game Rant, this is where I'm getting this link. It began somewhere in 2008, but started. I said bulk for some reason, but started in 2011. 2008 is when they started planning it, and 2011 is when it officially kicked off. And kicked off with a bit of a bang. In 2011, we had an earthquake / tsunami in Japan. I don't know. Do you remember that at all? It was like a really big deal.
Yeah, I do remember that. Of course, at the time, it didn't affect me, so I was like, whatever. play Borderlands.
Yeah, like Borderlands. Well, when that happened, the game was originally designed as a game where you were going to travel around the world and learn about new cultures and grow up with these characters. And then when that happened, they decided, you know what? Let's be more introspective and focus more on Tokyo because of the disaster. What do you think a game? What do you think of that? What do you think of a game like this where you're actually traveling around the world?
I love Mario Odyssey.
That's true. It would be like Mario Odyssey.
I don't know if I've played an RPG that's done that. Like, I mean, I've played, fantasy RPGs, like Final Fantasy and stuff where you're like flying around maps and stuff. And it's like, not really like real locations, but like where the Persona games, I take it, they all take place within like, the real world. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So having an RPG like that, like, I don't think I've ever seen that done before. That could be cool.
It'd be like Mario's Missing.
Okay, that would not be cool.
Maybe not. Yeah, that would be weird.
Unless the next Persona game stars Luigi.
It might. You got Joker on Smash now.
He's like, Persona!
Yeah, I think that's interesting because it has always been very tight-knit. And kind of like for the Persona 5 that you see, where you travel to different parts of Tokyo. It's always been that way, as far as I can remember. I mean, 1 and 2 are very different, but starting from 3, the formula you see is pretty much what you get. So another game came out I think it came out in 2011, 2010, something like that. Catherine. Are you familiar with Catherine?
Yeah, I remember when that came out. I was like, man, this art style is cool, and the story is kind of fucked up, and what's happening?
Catherine was like a puzzle / story game, right? Am I right? I've never played it.
Yeah, so. It's like a puzzle / dating sim.
Yeah, seems obvious.
Duh.
Yeah. So it's actually using the same game engine as Catherine, Persona 5, which is kind of weird, but if you played Catherine, maybe it makes sense. I've never actually played Catherine, so I can't speak to that. But that's the engine it's using. Weird considering how long ago it was made, and then Persona 5 came out so much later. But it was made intentionally for the PS3 hardware, not for PS4. So technically, when everyone's playing the Persona 5, I love that I'm playing. So full disclosure as well, I'm playing Persona 5 Royal right now. You're playing the original, which I played that one a while ago too. I gave that to a friend and he never played it. Bummer. But we're playing Persona 5 in the PS5 era, and we're both playing it, I believe, on the PS4, which is technically a PlayStation 3 game. So
amazing. No, I know when that came out, I saw it on PS3, and I was like, huh, because that was like a late release too.
Yeah. Well, here you go. It's really Persona 5. Catherine is really Persona 5. I don't know if you knew that or not. And then June 23rd.
Catherine was Birdo.
Catherine was Birdo. Oh my god, yeah. I remember that.
It was Birdo. Catherine as Birdo confirmed.
June 23rd, 2013. Index, which owns Atlas, filed for bankruptcy. So this is in the middle of them actually making Persona 5. and which they didn't understand what was going to happen next. Sega would go on to purchase Index in September of 2013, making Persona 5 my favorite Sega game.
They said a hero will save us.
Well, you're a big Sega guy.
Hero was Sonic. Yeah, dude. Technically, this is a Sega game. That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, what did you think of it when Sega became the owner of Atlas?
At the time, I was like, meh.
I think it really opened up their library of games and what you would know Sega for, which I historically speaking not the biggest fan of Sega.
Well, this is definitely. I would say this has to be definitely now like one of their top franchises, or like top games. Is Persona 5, but I guess now it's a franchise because you got like Persona 5, Persona 5 Royal, the dancing games, the new one, the new Strikers thing that just came out.
Yeah,
so I guess Persona 5 itself is a franchise. It's probably one of Sega's biggest franchises, alongside like the Sonics and the Yakuzas and the Hatsune Miku, I guess.
Yeah, to me, the most interesting Sega franchises, ironically, are Persona 5, which is it's the Sega franchise by default. It's kind of like when people say, like, my favorite Disney princess is Princess Leia. It's like,
yeah.
I guess, technically it's true.
My favorite Disney princess is Peggy Hill because they own Fox now.
Peggy Hill. I love King of the Hill. It's my favorite cartoon. But it would be that in Yakuza. I'm very interested in playing Yakuza, which I hope we get to that point at some point.
That'd be awesome.
All right. Let's talk about release dates, because this game eventually did come out. Spoiler.
What?
This game would come out.
Kidding me, man.
This game would come out in Japan on September 15th, 2016. It would release in North America on April 4th, 2017, as well as Europe and Australia. South Korea came out on June 8th, 2017. Hong Kong, it came out on March 23rd, 2017, as well as in Taiwan. So, released everywhere by looks like by June of 2017.
Jesus, could you imagine buying a new PS3 game in 2017?
Whoops. That would be crazy. I'm actually curious to see what it runs like and what it looks like on PS3. I mean,
yeah, because like the PS3 from like what, it came out like what, 2006, 5, 6,
around there, because I graduated high school in 2006, and I know it was coming out either that year or the year after. A 360 came out the year I graduated, so I think it came out like the next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds right. Jesus.
Pumping out Persona. I wonder if it runs. I guess I've never looked into it if it runs as well or has anything pulled back. Or Persona 4 or 5 does not like particularly blow away with like graphical fidelity, right? Like actual pixels and everything. So maybe.
Yeah, the power. It doesn't seem like it's a powerful game, but it's a stylish game. So
yes, and we'll get into that for sure. I want to talk about the sales of Persona 5 because they're important. So, the game sold 550,000 copies, combining physical and digital sales, by September 2016. So that's only in Japan. Within 3 weeks of its launch in Japan, the game became Atlus's best-selling game in the country. Outside of Japan, this is from the Wikipedia, it was the biggest debut for any Persona game to date, with package sales 5 times better than Persona 4. Atlus announced it had shipped 1.5 million copies worldwide. By November 2017, the number had risen to over 2 million copies, which made it the best-selling game in the series. Persona 5 contributed to the increasing annual revenue of Sega, the owner of Atlus.
Yeah.
At the 2018 PlayStation Awards, it received a platinum prize for topping 1 million sales in Asia. The game's worldwide sales had risen to over 3.2 million copies by December 2019, not including the Royal Edition. This is incredible.
Dude, 2017 was a good year for Sega. They had this, they had Sonic Mania, they had Sonic Forces.
They had this in Sonic Mania. We can agree on that one. Some of the scores here indicate, Jesus, we got 4 players. Whatever, I don't give a shit about them. Destructoid gives it a 9 out of 10. Edge gave it an 8 out of 10. I don't know what's up their crawl. EGM gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Famitsu gave it a 39 out of 40, which they're pretty famously strict, so it's pretty impressive. Game Informer gave it a 9.25 out of 10, and I'm trying to keep it just to the original, not Royal. You're seeing a lot of very, very high scores for this. What did this? Is this when it got on your radar as a game that you might be interested in, or like when did you start thinking about this game?
I mean, I was hearing about it when it came out, dude. Like, nobody would shut the fuck up about it. I mean, I still didn't know what it was. I was just like, man, that Persona 5 game is like everywhere. And I remember just like being like, oh my, like everybody, Teddy was playing it. Everybody was playing it. Like I could see videos on it everywhere. I think when it came into my radar, which is I think what came into a lot of like people like me that are very into Nintendo games, is whenever Joker was in Smash Bros. Like, that was the moment I was like, wait, what?
Wow, like that's when it hit you? And Joker came into Smash Bros?
Yeah, I was like, this character is that big? Like, this game is that big? I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, so that was the moment that I was like, I might want to check that out.
Whoa. Must have been a good sales ploy for them then.
That's the Smash Bros. Power. That's the power Smash Bros. Gives. It's kind of like a marketing tool.
And I wonder if he was brought into that because of Persona Q2, trying to market that game. Because obviously Persona 5 is not on any Nintendo console. Well,
yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess the original game is not. Strikers, I don't know. Strikers is on the Switch, I believe now.
That wasn't even announced.
But that wasn't even a baby yet.
Yeah, like that's so a non-Nintendo character from a non-Nintendo game was just added to Smash Bros. And I remember being like, "Dang, what?"
Yeah,
scratching my head.
Can you do this?
Yeah,
I'm gonna go back to playing Solid Snake. I guess he had Twin Snakes and he had some Game Boy games, right?
Yeah.
And then on 3DS.
Yeah, 3DS.
He had a fair amount, I guess.
Well, actually, I mean, I don't want to make this Metal Gear cast, but Metal Gear 1, the shitty non-original sequel, was on the NES. So
that's true.
So kept you waiting, huh? Okay.
So there's the sales for it and the general reception. Let's see what people had to say about it. This guy's review says, chief among the changes is the addition of a hold-up system, which has been likened to demon negotiation. A system that was a staple of the mainline Shin Megami Tensei series, but left out of Persona 3 and 4. At the end of a fight, you're able to hold up a demonic foe and invite them to join your party. So that's going to be one of the many things that we talk about. I'll probably cover some of those mechanics in a different episode, just so we can save some juice for some of the other episodes. General reception, I was trying to find a good article. I couldn't find one. Was very positive, as you can see from the scores. Although the Japanese seem to like it more than Americans did. If you notice, some of those EGM and some of those other scores were only 8 out of 10, which is obviously terrible for a Persona game. But in Famitsu, they wanted to give it like a perfect score. So I guess there's still a little bit of a JRPG influence over in Japan that we don't get here in America.
Even negotiation. I call that talking to my landlord.
Zing!
All right. Zing!
All right, you ready to talk about the game?
Yeah. Um, can I sing a song?
Sing a
Just
song.
get us in the mood.
Yeah.
Who am I? Am I not unique? Maybe I'm not here at all.
Man, this
Remember that
soundtrack.
song? Look, the first time I turned that game on and then they started playing that like music video and stuff, and that song started playing, I was just like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be good."
I'm basing a lot of this off of the wiki for Persona 5. So that's where I'm getting a lot of this info from, though. I mean, I know it, but it'll help me structure.
But Spencer, you can edit Wikipedia.
Yeah, that's all I do. Read Wikipedia, see what they have to say about things. So Persona 5 stars your hero, which we'll talk about him in a second. And among you and your friends, who you would call the Phantom Thieves, are entering people's hearts and changing them and trying to fix the world's wrongs through means that most people can't understand. It is a reflection in a way of a child's view of adulthood and them trying to understand and cope with growing up, and obviously presented in a way that's fun and flashy and goofy at times. The game gets very, very dark in some instances, and in other instances takes itself as a complete joke. And you have not seen all of it yet, but there's going to be moments that are just going to boggle your mind that the two disparate darkness and goofiness are in the same game. But
I'm excited.
I can't wait for you to see it. It's very, very weird.
I'm really excited to see that.
But Persona 5 starts in media res, which is a film term that I'm sure you're familiar with. You are a film guy. Frickin' frack.
That's me. I'm Frick and Frack.
And it starts when you are infiltrating a casino and you can hear your teammates talking to you. And it turns out, plot twist, oh no, one of them has betrayed you.
Quentin Tarantino directed this intro.
Yeah. It's kind of a genius way to start the game. What did you think? So, no, you're new to Persona, right? You've never played a Persona game.
Yeah.
The game just goes, you're in a casino. Get the hell out of there.
Go, go, go. I was like, okay. Oh, and it was like, had like stealth sections and stuff. And I was just like, am I playing Sly Cooper right now? No. No, I mean, it was an interesting intro. I was not where I was expecting the story to start. Was like I was like in the middle of what I could get at the time, what I could guess was like a heist or something, and I was just like they were like, oh, you're gonna get caught, and then they were like, okay, you gotta sneak around these guys, and oh, you gotta jump across these like chandeliers and stuff. I was like, oh, this is cool. This is very cool.
Yeah. After playing Persona 3 and Persona 4, this is basically their way of showing off what they can do with this new game engine, and like you couldn't do this stuff in Persona 4. It was very straightforward dungeon crawling, so just running through a dungeon. This has you jumping through like off chandeliers, crawling up places, hiding behind boxes, and zipping around, which that's in the Royal. Were you lost at all at this, or confused by what you saw? No.
Nah, because and I think part of that is where I come from a film background, is that I knew that this was later on in the game.
Okay, you already knew that this would be okay.
Yeah, like I knew from a storytelling perspective, I had a grasp. I was like, okay, this is like later on in the story. Okay, I was like, I'm all like, so like in those situations, which it kind of sucks, like being from that background, because like I know while I'm playing that part, I could just like put it in the back of my brain, not even think about it, because I was like, okay, this is going to be important later.
And they kind of want you to do that because I believe they hide people too, like the faces that pop up. I think they're hidden, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So you can't see who it'll be later. Very interesting. I did want to mention too. I don't know if you remember that when you tried to, if you've ever tried to stream this game, which I tried to when I first played it, it was completely blocked, 100%.
When you first turn on the game, it says like these blocked scenes are not, viewable or not shareable and stuff. And I'm like, oh. And then usually most games that's happened to that, it's been like games like licensed games with like like footage or like story elements from like I played like I think like one of the One Piece Warriors games. You could record it, just not the cutscenes, because it's sensitive, information for the anime and stuff. So I guess people don't want spoilers to be out there and stuff. This it happened when I started playing, and then like the intro started, and I started, the intro I was saying, that's the intro. I started playing that and stuff. I was like, oh, okay, I guess I can't record its intro, and it never stopped.
Nope. Never. The entire game. It doesn't even matter if you're just like going through the dungeon. They do not want you to show anything. So,
yeah.
And that's it. So I didn't know that they still had it. I knew that they had it before, so they just never bothered to even. It's still blocked. Like 4 years later.
Weird.
Yeah.
That's so weird. I don't know what other games I've seen do that.
Yeah. Oh well, I guess you can never be really spoiled by this game unless you just read about it. So,
yeah.
Or you listen to this podcast. So,
oops.
Whoops. Sorry, Atlas. Or Sega, I guess, now. Okay, so you end up being caught, and then you're interrogated. And this is kind of where they introduce some of the elements to you and start doling out information about how the game is played. You learn that, obviously, you're a criminal, or you're viewed as a criminal. And you get to meet your character. Let's talk about the hero. The hero of the game is Joker, but he does technically have names. I don't know if you knew that.
What's the like? Is it like a canonical name?
Yes. Yeah.
What's the canonical name?
It's Ren, which is interesting. Let me try to pull it up real quick.
It's not what I was expecting.
Yeah, he technically has two names.
Stampy.
His name is Stampy the elephant.
No, it's Ren. It's Ren, so he says Stampy.
Oh,
it's like Ren and Stimpy.
I got you.
Oh, look, I have a. Look at this. I have a Ren toy right here. Yeah.
Oh, there he is. See, I was not able to watch any of that because I didn't have cable growing up.
Oh. Would you watch Arthur?
I watched a lot of Arthur.
Anime.
So his name is Ren Amamiya. Amamiya. Whoa, there's a name.
Amamiya.
In Persona 5, the animation. Which
Ooh.
I wouldn't mind checking. I tried to watch Persona 4, the animation, just because I like Persona 4 so much, and I could not stand it. But
is it a series or like a movie?
It's a series. I think it's on Hulu.
Well, I can't watch it, so
okay.
Playing the game.
Well, that was Persona 4. I don't Persona 5. I don't know where you can watch this. Maybe it's somewhere.
Streaming.
Most other appearances, while Akira Kurusu was used in the manga adaptation. So he's either named Ren Amamiya. I like saying that. Ren Amamiya or Akira Kurusu. But you know him as whatever you named him.
Yep.
Or what everybody refers to as, including Nintendo, Joker, which is where you first heard
Joker.
him. And Joker, of course, is his little alter ego, which looks freaking cool. He turns into this almost like magician-looking guy with like well-dressed magician. What do you think of the main character of Persona 5?
I named him Jeremiah Smith.
Why?
Because it's fucking hilarious. Not the name. It's not the name of a Japanese schoolboy. It's not
Jeremiah.
Jeremiah Smith from Tokyo. So far, which I would like to preface this as saying that while we're splitting this up, I'm playing it like in order by the parts. So I purposely for right now I haven't played any further because I wanted to do this episode first.
Yeah. It'll be
Because I
fun to
want
it'll be fun to chronicle this for you.
yeah, exactly. So as of right now, um, I don't know if I have too much to say about the character himself. At first, he's just kind of like a slate for the player. You know, you kind of give like all the responses you give, you can pick, one of multiple responses. It's kind of like playing like a BioWare game or something. You know, you can kind of just say what you want to say in most situations. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know if I have too much to say about just the main character. He's kind of just like a kind of like where I could like bring myself into the game.
Interesting. Yeah, in all the Persona games, they've been pretty much blank slates that you would do. You would say like a silent protagonist, and he technically says a couple things. Like if you're navigating the menu, he'll say like "Let's do it" or something cool. But in general, he's very quiet. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to say. I love his design though.
You have dialogue choices.
Yeah, yeah, but you don't. He doesn't. He doesn't like he. In the world, he would be saying it.
Yeah,
but there's no voice that says those things. Smartly, I guess, because then they don't have to record the audio for that. There's so much audio in this game. But it's I think he's probably one of the most well-designed Persona characters. I don't know if you've seen the hero from Persona 4 or Persona 3, but they actually somehow have less character than our hero.
Dude, the only character I can think of from Persona 4, and this is strictly from playing like the fighting game stuff, is whatever character wears the fucking green jacket.
That's my favorite character, Chie.
That's the only character I can think of. Yeah.
That's why. Do you remember when I was first growing out my hair a little bit? I told Teddy I wanted to get that Chie look.
yeah.
That's it, man. Okay, let's move on from him. One of the first major characters you're gonna meet, and we'll talk a little bit about your story. But one of the first major characters you meet is Ryuji Sakamoto, and he is our blonde-haired, tough guy. He's got an interesting past, and he's going to be a major player in this first arc that we're covering. He becomes Skull once he gets his persona going.
Ooh, Skull.
What are your thoughts on Ryuji?
When you first meet this character, which I don't know how much you want to talk about the story right now, but he's sort of shown off as like a hothead, kind of like a delinquent, kind of like an outcast at his school and stuff. He kind of fits the trope of a lot of, for me at least, a lot of which I think I probably know more than you. A lot of anime characters, like a lot of anime friends are like protagonists of being like the school delinquent, like the school. Like I'm going to face my battles head on, like that kind of character.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, oh, okay, I totally get who this character is. But I'll be honest, like even through this first chapter, like the character has started to like open up a bit and like become a bit deeper than I had originally thought the character was.
Yeah.
Which is a nice little surprise. Rather than just having a hothead character who attacks everything head on.
Yeah, he every Persona game, it's starting from 3. So and whenever I say that going forward, I mean starting from 3 because I'm not familiar with the first 2. They give you a side character that's like a dude. That'd be like your dude friend. And that's kind of the main thing that you start with, and then you can pick some girls later. And Ryuji is yours in this game. I got like some weird vibes that there might be something wrong with him, maybe mentally. I'm not saying full on, weird, like crazy, but there's something like loose with him when I see him, and I see that in young kids sometimes too, where he just seems very explosive, and maybe that's to make sure that the action keeps going in the story.
Yeah,
I just think it shows very strongly in him, and also. One striking thing, he looks just like Machine Gun Kelly. Do you know who that is?
I've heard of the name.
You should totally Google him because he looks exactly like Machine Gun Kelly. It's kind of bizarre.
Machine Gun Kelly. Okay, hold on.
All
Let me
right.
bring it up. Oh my god.
It's like I
Oh my
remember
god.
I saw Machine Gun Kelly in some movie. I
It's
think
the
it was
hair.
yeah, and he's like skinny and tall, and he's got that striking blonde hair, and he's the same guy.
Jesus, Sega, if you're making that Persona 5 movie, I
that's
got your guy.
that's the guy. Uh, yeah, so he's got a history with the sports team, which we'll uncover within this chapter. But let's before we get to all that, let's move on to another major character, one of the more interesting ones, Morgana.
You gotta have a mascot.
That's so true. You have all these Persona games have these little character mascots, and do you know what the one named for Persona 4 is?
Is it the is that one the bear or no?
Yeah,
Which
do you know
one's
what
the
the
bear?
bear's name is?
No, I don't know what the bear's name is.
Teddy.
Oh, it's Teddy.
Teddy. Well, in this one, it's Morgana. What are your thoughts on Morgana?
Again, from initial reactions when I first saw Morgana, I was like, "Oh, it's a Japanese property. It with an anime style, it's got to have a mascot. That's what they all do. That. Um, and Morgana to me at first was just kind of like the tutorial character, like the "Hey Joker, don't forget you can push this button to do this thing. Hey Joker, don't forget you can." I was like, "Okay, I get your purpose here." But as the story progresses so far, I don't fucking know right now. What's up? Like, it's like, and it looks like a cat in both the real world and the other world. But it claims it's not a cat. I can't even tell if it's a boy or girl. Like, what gender is it?
I think it's a boy.
It just got such a high pitched voice. It's hard to.
Well, and
tell.
also according to the wiki, it says he doesn't know who he is. So,
Okay.
but no, it's the game. Depending on, so I'm not even going to touch that. I'm just gonna ignore that.
Okay.
There you go. It's a boy. It's a boy. There you go.
Yeah, I don't know the deal with this character yet. It's probably the only character so far that I've been introduced to that I'm still trying to figure out.
Mhm.
I just know that he knew more about what's happening, and he kind of acted as the tutorial and kind of set things into motion. And I want to know more about this character. Like, what the fuck is going on with this cat?
You know what's interesting? I don't. I think I remember them going into deeper detail. What I think is in my first playthrough, and I'm hoping to rectify that. I don't think I explored everything I could with this character, so I don't really know all the ins and outs of it. So I'm excited to learn with you. What the hell's the deal? His code name is Mona, which again, Morgana, Mona, those sound like chick names. So it's kind of weird that
Yeah, exactly.
they
That's why I was
announced
trying
it's
to
a
figure out. I
girl.
was like,
There's a he.
yeah, I was like, what gender is this? Cat.
Yeah. And the other character I want to talk about before we get into the story, and then eventually talk about our first villain, is An. And I know it's pronounced On because that's how Morgana says it when he goes, "You're so beautiful, An." So what are your thoughts on An?
What's her code name? Panther, right?
Panther?
Yeah. That one's hard because if we're not wanting to talk about the story yet, there's not a lot I can say about On because she's introduced like halfway through this. Well, not introduced, but she's brought into the main story halfway through the chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Really. So talking about a lot of what goes on with her so far, for me at least, is hard without spoiling what we're going to be talking about during the story section.
Okay, we can cover it then. I just found it interesting, and knowing that you're kind of new to the series, they always make the characters very diverse. And I just thought it was interesting that these characters were all from Tokyo, Japan. Like, so far, none of them look like they're from Japan except for your main character.
It's true. Well, it's been implied that Ryuji, right? It's his name, Ryuji. He dyed his hair.
Oh, is that
Um,
true? I missed that. I must have
yeah,
missed that.
well, yeah, one of the teachers says something about him not dyeing his hair back to
Oh
black or
yeah,
whatever.
you're totally right.
So,
Totally right.
which I always thought, I took that as like him being like the rebellious teenager. Not not her though. She's just got long blonde hair,
Yeah,
as you often see in Japan.
yeah. Very different. She's gonna be your uh, like model esque type character, the good looking girl. Although not like not like overly sexualized as you might suspect from a game like this. Um, they're just definitely toned down. Obviously, they're kids too, which I think plays a part in them keeping it a little real. But I think there's a lot of restraint there, and I appreciate that. I've certainly played some games that um, went a little far on some of that.
Oh, have I played some games?
Boy, have I played some games.
Oh,
All right. So let's talk about the story a little bit. You are from another town, and this is also pretty common in most Persona games. You're from another town. You had a little incident. Is it your fault? Isn't it? It's implied heavily that it's not your fault. You were trying to be a hero. You saved a girl from getting beaten up by some dude. And again, there's implications, and we'll talk about that a little more later. There's implications of certain acts going on that they don't outright
yeah.
state. But you're shipped off instead of going to prison. You just get shipped off to go to a different school. I don't know the weird plots in these games.
Well, I think the thing was that like he got in trouble for standing up for this woman.
Mhm.
But the thing was that like he got sued, right?
Yeah,
It was like a lawsuit thing, yeah. So I believe it's more like a reform program, um,
man,
because he is like underage.
those are some cool reform programs. You'll go live with this other guy.
Yeah, go
Then
live
you'll
with a
learn.
stranger in a coffee shop. It's like a fucking hipster,
Yeah, go live with this coffee shop guy, man.
man. Reform your life, man.
So
Man,
yeah,
this judge is cool as fuck.
you get sent to this coffee shop owner's place, like his restaurant, his coffee shop, and then you live above it and just kind of are his kid for a while. It's really weird. And then you're going to this other school, and that's where you're going to meet all these characters. And on your way to going to school, you end up in a palace, and you're late for your first day of school. Can you believe that?
Oh my
By the
god.
way, there's a million other things going on in this story. I don't want to throw them all at you. There's all these little side plots going on, including the teachers kind of talking about this crazy new student that's coming in, and some detectives talking about what's going on. It should be noted that in the world, there's been some weird accidents going on of train crashes and people losing consciousness. What are your thoughts on this? These
I don't.
weird plots.
I have no clue what's happening with that plot yet. It just keeps cropping up here or there. It's just like, oh, another train crashed in the subway for some reason because the guy lost his mind. It's like, oh, it's normal. I'm gonna go to school now.
Typical day in Tokyo.
I will say, like the plot with the teachers complaining about like a new student coming, like the teachers are kind of bad teachers.
Yeah, my girlfriend's a teacher, and sometimes she'll watch me play the game, and I kind of look at her like looking at some of these teachers like, "Ah, man, I wish my student wouldn't come to class. I wish he just wouldn't show up. I'm like, is this normal teacher protocol? um, but yeah, you are late, and you end up in a palace, which we'll be knowing them going forward, and that's where you're going to meet up with Morgana. You've already met Ryuji. Technically, you've already met An, but you're not dealing with her personally yet. Um, so you've seen what a school looks like, what these schools look like, and then now you've seen them actually entering a dungeon. What are you thinking going into this weird, colorful castle?
Um, I honestly like because like there's been like moments beyond like like from this point for sorry from the game start to this it's been like normal everyday life. You met
Mhm.
up with the the guy that was coffee shop. So Jiro, I think his name is. You've gone into school for your first day, or whatever, or you're like, I don't know, your paperwork or whatever. You talk to teachers and stuff. It's like, oh, okay, this is pretty normal. And there's like a moment, or like a couple moments during that time where like otherworldly elements start cropping up. So whenever they found their way to this castle, I know it's supposed to be like, oh, what's going on? Like, what is this castle?
Yeah.
But like, I kind of pieced it together. I was like, oh, like they're like they've crossed over to like some other world, haven't they? It's like,
Yeah. That's where this game is weird, and honestly, a lot of SMT games are like this, where it's very clear that the game knows it's a game, and it treats it that way. But the
yeah,
characters, they still make you sit through the characters, going like, "Well, gee, I don't know what's going on here," and I get it from like a a storytelling perspective, like they should be confused and they should be
dude,
lost.
Ryuji's confused like 3 days after this. He's like, can you believe it? A castle? And at this point, I'm like, dude, we move on. Like,
We're 3 levels deep, man. Come on, get over it. Yeah, the tutorial, especially playing it for the second time here, the tutorial parts and just kind of explaining what the world is doing are kind of brutal. I don't know. Did you feel that way as your first playthrough?
what do you mean by brutal?
Well, think of like I guess the worst case scenario would be a Nintendo game from 10 years ago. Just kind of holding your hand and being like, okay, this is how you move forward. And here's how
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I could definitely see that. There's definitely a heavy tutorial thing going on with this first encounter in the castle. Um, but with that said, though, I don't think it was too noticeable for me, at least, because while playing, there were still elements here that I was like interested in figuring out what was happening. Like
you.
you meet up with characters in the castle, like Morgana and stuff like that, and then another character we'll talk about that. I'm like, okay, like, that's interesting, and then like all these different elements I'm kind of picking up on, that were they weren't directly answering my questions yet, but that was kind of like getting the answers for myself. I was like, oh, okay, like I kind of get what's going on. I kind of get, So
Yeah.
I think during this first encounter, as a new player, I was still so intrigued by what's happening. I didn't notice the tutorial stuff. I think if I played through it again, I probably would be like, okay, I get it. I get it. Okay.
Part of their desires manifested, yada
Yeah,
yada.
okay. But the first time I was like, wow, this is interesting. Sigmund Freud would have a field day with this.
I'm going to be talking about that on another episode. So stay tuned for that. But I think for me it gets really bad because there's so many mechanics to the game, and they pull them all back for these segments so they can teach it to you. So like I spent a good chunk of my time at this point trying to figure out why I couldn't hide behind things. And I was like, I kept running up beside things, like hitting X, and it's like it's not hiding behind them. It's making sneak attacks really weird. So that gets annoying, but I totally understand, and part of me is excited for you because I wish I could go back and play this game fresh for the first time as well. It's just so much fun. It's pretty good at doling out new stuff and not overwhelming you.
Well, it's very engaging too for your first time because of the storytelling elements. Because I think, like I was telling you while I was playing it, you had known that I had tried to play Dragon Quest XI prior to this.
Yeah.
And I played about 8 hours of that game, and I put it down. Not because I wasn't having fun, but because like nothing was engaging me. The like no story stuff had like really engaged me so far. It had been kind of like little one-off plots. This one, as soon as I started playing, it honestly felt like I was watching like a really good anime, and so I think that helped me overlook some of those elements where it was like holding my hand during this part, because I was still like, it felt like I was watching a really good anime. I was like, this is interesting.
Absolutely. We'll talk about that more in a little bit, but that's a really good point. Is that they did a good job of masking the tutorial with actual like world building, and because like I guess the characters are kind of learning along with you how bizarre this game is. So
Yeah,
there you go. Um, while we're here, we do meet our villain of the month.
One of the month.
Cut
I
out
can't,
Persona
that's
5.
going to be a common theme.
Yeah. And it's Kamoshida, a former volleyball
Kamoshida.
star who's now a gym teacher.
Kamoshida.
Well, how the mighty have fallen. And your view of him right here is you do meet him a little bit earlier. He offers on a ride, which she accepts to school, and he also offers you one, and you're like, nah, I'm good. And then he drives off, and that's really your first introduction. You've also seen him in a couple cutscenes.
No joke. The first time I saw that cutscene, I didn't realize that was the same guy from the school that was like talking to another teacher. So whenever he was just like, "Hey, you want to ride to school?" and she got in, I was like, "She's just gonna get in with this random guy." And then it dawned on me later. I was like, "Oh, he's a teacher. That was a teacher. Oh, okay, never mind."
It's like, wow, I've got some questions for you.
Yeah, what?
Well, now you get to see him, and he looks a little bit different. What,
Yeah.
what did you think when you saw Kamoshida wear in his underwear and his cape?
He had an underwear, a giant like king cape, and a crown.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Ooh boy, this is gonna awaken something in me." I'm just kidding.
Your persona was acting up.
My persona. And obviously, we're gonna. I don't know. Well, I take it you give a certain point. You want to talk about the themes of the game, but
Yeah.
I definitely was picking up on that, and I was like, I saw his design, and I think he was a very smart choice for the first villain of the month, as you said, because it really exemplifies what they're going with the themes of this game and stuff, and like the design. His design totally like reflects that.
Yeah.
He stripped down to like his core elements, literally. So yeah, I was like, oh, okay, like that's weird, but okay, I get it, I get it.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. My girlfriend was watching at this point, and I was like, "What? What are you? What's going on here?" Probably not appreciating the finer details of the game like I am, but there you go. And that kicks off our big story where we're dealing with Kamoshida and his treatment of the students in his little castle, as he feels it's called. Let's talk about the story a little bit here, and we'll get into some of these other topics in a second. The game deals with some very serious issues. We deal with the abuse of kids, both mostly physical, but also mental. Obviously, you can't not do that. And I want to say it deals with him messing with girls as well, but it really does not touch on that. It doesn't pull the trigger, as you might say, with the.
They talk about it.
Yeah,
he talks about it too.
But they dance around it. Do you think going full on like a rape story is just too much for this, or why do you think it's not completely 100% gone through with?
What is this rated? What's the rating on this?
It's rated M.
It is M.
Well, let me double check.
So
Let me double check that while we do this.
Okay. Well, that's sort of what I want to know before I start talking about my answer here.
Yes, it's rated M.
Okay, it's rated M. So they could have gotten away with it. I think it's just I think it would have gotten too far, especially for the first villain of this 100,000-hour game. And I think the fact that like it's touched upon that like he's had these desires, he thinks about it, and if you don't do anything, it could very well, it could be a threat that could happen. I think that's more of a push to do something than if I came into the situation and it was like, oh, he's been getting away with all this rape and stuff for years, and it's just like, and nobody's done anything. Like,
yeah.
I think at this point, it's a good starter villain. So I don't think going all the way, full on rapist would be Makes me think of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah, you mean a
Uh,
philanthropist?
yeah. Kids, but the
The
elderly.
elderly.
Did you say you're a fool on a rapist? No. So, yeah, I think if they would have pulled the trigger on that, I think it would have been too much for the game's first villain.
Hmm. Yeah, and I wonder too. Like, a lot of teens are probably playing this game, especially in Japan, but over here too. A lot of teens are probably playing this, and as an adult, you definitely look at this a little bit differently, I would assume, than they would. And my mind immediately goes to that. I don't know that a teens would. Maybe it does. I don't know. But in my mind, I'm like, oh, he's raping those kids. But they're just like, oh, and he mistreats girls privately. It's like, wait. That's a really long way of.
Semi spoilers. I mean, we're talking about this episode anyway. But
Yeah. Go for it.
he you know it comes out. He says at one point that he's tried to. He wants to.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just that alone, like those intentions, the fact that he has those intentions, I think it's enough. I think that's enough without going overboard.
Yeah, I agree. This also kind of comes up later, so we'll talk about that when we do. But that's kind of the story of you trying to get to his heart and figure out how to stop him from doing this. And you're kind of put in a timetable because Ryuji yelled at him and then he says you're all expelled. There you go.
What?
That sets you on your month-long journey to stop Kamoshida.
What?
Yeah. And we'll talk about how we stop him in a second. But I wanted to ask you or talk to you about some of the mechanics here. The turn-based combat. I'm sure you've played many RPGs where you got your traditional attack, defend, use an item, use a spell, run away. Those are kind of your options.
And there's some kind of like an EX or special attack somewhere in there.
Persona 5 is a little different. It's got a lot of options. What do you think about Persona 5's combat?
It's honestly, like, it was a little overwhelming at first when I first jumped into it, because it was like I have so many options of, like, and I'm trying to, like, figure out what's the best strategy. I still don't know if I'm there yet to where I can, I think right now I'm still playing it like I would play something like Final Fantasy VII or something, where I use those basic strategies. But there's a lot. I barely even use that gun. That gun's there.
Oh, you're missing out.
I forget I have it. I just, like, and then the hold up mechanic, like that thing. Whenever that thing happens, I'm always like, oh yeah, I forgot I could do this. And then, like, you could, like, recruit them, or you could, like, have them bargain for things, or you could just fucking have everybody fucking jump them and leave them laying in the street begging for help. But your whole team does do the all out attack, and they all kind of start hitting him and stuff. So that's a cool mechanic. Like, there's a lot of different. There's the things with the personas themselves, which act as, like, your. I've never played a Shin Megami Tensei or a Persona game before, so the only thing I equate it to is Pokemon.
Yeah,
with the different attacks.
That's very true. And in Shin Megami Tensei games, the personas actually fight beside you, so that the demons or whatever, they fight beside you like Pokemon. In this game, they just embody. They embody themselves within you. So you summon them, and your character is able to freely switch between them. Whereas all the other characters, they don't do that.
Still, an element of that, because you can recruit and switch out, personas. So you still have an element of that.
Yeah,
and you could use them to attack, which means I'm going to use their fucking strongest attack over and over again.
Yeah. Well, and that's how you get away with hitting, like, a lot of different, being able to hit their weaknesses a lot, which you'll rotate your character out to constantly hit the new weakness and switch it off. You said that you barely use the gun?
Barely use the gun.
Dude, gun's freaking awesome.
Do I need to use the gun?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'll try to remember that.
Some enemies are weak to ranged attacks.
Oh, okay. I say, what are the advantages of the gun?
Well, the gun is a genius idea because it. So I love the way that it's introduced in that it's a toy gun, but it scares the enemy because it looks real and therefore it becomes real in the dungeon.
The metaverse or whatever it is. I love the fact that Ryuji was like, I brought it because like it looks so real, doesn't it? Dude, we could rob a bank with this. You know,
Yeah, it's like
we're
Ryuji,
kings now.
what's wrong with you? um,
Like honestly, like if it was outside the context of this game, that's a terrible idea.
yeah, yeah, the horrible idea. Like, why would you do that? Why would you ever? You would get shot like in any real world scenario of bringing a gun to a fight that doesn't have bullets.
You're trying to like aim it at somebody. They go rain a gunfire. That's the Ryuji.
But somehow it works here, and this is the game. This is the first game with guns. So like Persona 4 didn't have that. This is new to the series, and I just love that you have this option to shoot, and you have ammo, and each person has their own like unique ranged weapon, which is cool. Ryuji's got that awesome shotgun, and you got the pistol, and Morgana has the slingshot, and An has an automatic that you can't aim. It just it finds people and just hits them randomly.
Dude, I didn't even know An had that because I haven't used the gun since I got her.
Oh,
Like, I just forget I have it. I just use my other attacks because I'm playing it like I play a normal RPG, and usually Cloud Strife can't pull out a fucking automatic. I mean, I guess Barrett has a gun, mounted to his arm, but
yeah. Well, and one thing I like about the combat too is that things are button sensitive instead of like navigating with the control pad or anything. It's like so you can use the gun. I think it's triangle, and then X is your weapon, and then maybe square. Or something. I can't remember which one. I would know it if I was holding the controller doing it.
Position, but I think it reminds me of the World of Final Fantasy, which came out like the year prior. I think they also did that with their commands.
Yeah. And Xeno Saga, Xeno Gears did it. Chrono Cross sort of does it in their own way. Yeah, I like it when they do that. What's that?
So did the PS2 Xenosaga games do that? I used to have those. So I don't remember much.
Sort of. They had it in a way that Chrono Cross did it, where you had different attacks for the different buttons. Different. Really, it was just different strengths of attacks, but it's the same concept. I like that idea, and it makes for a much slicker, much quicker. Like once you start using the gun correctly, you find that you can just easily switch from gun shooting and then doing a physical attack, and it just feels very, very fluid. And I love that about the game. And something else helps to do that, which we'll talk about in a second. Actually, let's just move into that now. I think one thing that helps the combat a lot is the art style of this game and the aesthetic, as we like to say. What do you like? I'm trying to find the right way to ask this, but do you like the art style, like the aesthetic, the way they've built this game from the menus?
Terrible. I'm just kidding. No, it's fucking awesome. The game is really it ceases like it's so far. I haven't had like a time that I've started playing where like something hasn't impressed me. With the visual storytelling, with the menus, with the the combat, with the things like I love my favorite thing, which I always do it because like it's so cool to watch, is whenever you do like the all out attack, and then like all the little character portraits pop up, and then they all start fucking attacking the enemy and stuff from different angles and stuff, and then you have like the little whoever you're playing as has like the little thing where they like do a little animation and like the background explodes and stuff. I was like, God, this is so like pleasing, like.
It's just like candy, like watching candy.
Yeah. Like, oh my God, this is awesome.
I gotta tell you, I played this game for 100 hours. I never got sick of it. I loved watching it the whole time. However they chose to design this game, whoever designed it needs to go to like every other game and help them design their systems.
Well, and the thing is though, is that like most games where like if you're talking to like another character and like during like the story and stuff, and it's just text, and like even if there is like a little bit of voice acting, like for example, the one that comes to heart, my brain first is the original Kingdom Hearts. There's just bland moments where the characters are just standing there, and then there's just like a wall of text where they're talking for a second, and I'm like this is boring. Like this game like manages to just keep that interesting, just with the little character portraits that are like making little like facial animations, like or like they'll create different things you would have taught, like normally things that like you would have said to the people, they'll do it in like text messages and stuff. So it still keeps it like visually interesting, and then they know when to introduce like anime style cutscenes at like the right times and stuff. Like it's always visually interesting. There's never one of those like stale, like in-game moments where I'm just like reading a wall of text and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. It's always like popping at you. It's got that red and black motif that just catches the eye. And
even navigating the fucking menu, like Joker's like, whoosh, he like smacks the fucking like menu.
They didn't miss a beat. Like there's no part that isn't stylized to exactly what they wanted. They're like just navigating to like the settings. It's like whoop, whoop, whoop. It's so like comic booky, and like there's a lot of different. There's like comic book style. There's like a street graffiti style. It's a weird combination that some art genius had to come up with that I don't understand, but works somehow.
Well, and then bringing in the art style, you can't, I think what also works with it is like the soundtrack and the music of the game as well, which is also something I wasn't expecting. I've always heard these games have good music, but like a lot of music like was like it was like a lot of like string instruments and a lot of like jazzy elements and stuff.
Yeah,
and I was like, damn.
I think saying this game has a good soundtrack is a disservice to the soundtrack, because like a lot of times people will say like, oh, this video game, this random like RPG or whatever, it's got a really good soundtrack, but when you think of it, it's like a video game soundtrack. It's like like a beat or like a cool string track, like classical music or something,
like a score.
Yeah, like exactly a score. Whereas this game, it's like, no, these are like actual songs, like legit songs that you've never heard before, and you've never heard anything like them, and they're very, very different. So it's totally different.
I think it works with a lot of the different things, because like even whenever you're like saying, "Hey, do you remember this? Whenever this happened in the game," I could tell you exactly what track was playing at that moment, because it's so embedded into my brain. Like it's so well done. Like,
oh yeah,
the music in combination with the visuals, like that makes the game.
And it kind of reminds me of Metal Gear Solid 3. Remember there was the Snake Eater?
Snake Eater!
And they're just the ladies like kind of explaining what you do.
I did my life, not for honor, but for you.
God, what a fucking good song. It's too bad that's not an RPG. I'd love to talk about that game. Maybe I will sometime, somehow.
You raise his stats, right? Through putting on different camouflage.
That's true. You got a stealth stat. All right. Let's do it.
You can spin him around and throw up.
Yeah, just like every RPG. But like that, it's music. The people are singing about stuff that's kind of like the point of the game. So it's kind of funny to listen. And the lyrics are so weird. And the lady singing it is so strange. Like she has a weird accent, but somehow manages to tie it all together to make sense. So if you ever like want to look up the lyrics, it's just kind of funny to read them. It's like, oh,
it's sort of like it's like broken English in a way. It works though.
Yeah,
but it's like it's like broken English. It's like that sort of like you could tell that like it was written and produced in Japan, even if it's like an American, lyric, whatever. It's just like that, like that kind of thing. You're like, okay, like some of this just isn't translating as well as it should. But it works. I never skip that like intro song.
Yeah, never.
Or like the game turns on, I always watch that. I'm like, okay, I gotta watch. Like it like puts me in the mood, you know.
Yeah, yeah. There's a song called "River in the Desert" that I think you've heard at this point, but that's my favorite from the whole game. It's phenomenal. Like I actually like legit listen to it. There's very, very few video game songs that I will listen to outside of the game. You know me, I'm not into music, and I'm not into video game music. I usually play them on mute. You do not play Persona on mute. It just does not happen. Yeah, like most games, even Dragon Quest 11, I would turn on mute sometimes, just because like whatever. But like,
don't tell Teddy I said this. I don't like the Dragon Quest soundtracks very much.
they're not that expansive. They're pretty similar going forward, and yeah, they're pretty basic orchestra. Not a lot to it. Persona 5 is the exact opposite. It's like, let's be freaking weird.
Oh, they know. Like, and this thing is that, like I said, it's jazzy, but it's got like elements of other styles thrown in.
Oh yeah,
at
there's
random
metal.
times. Dude, I fucking love whenever you like do like the hold up things, and then it goes dan. I'm like, ooh yeah.
There are some freaking awesome metal tracks later. They just do everything. They do it all, and it's pretty fascinating to see them doing that. So yeah, when people are like, Persona 5 has a good soundtrack, I'm just like, whoa. That doesn't like tell half the story of what Persona 5 soundtrack is.
It makes me like more slightly interested in the dancing games, even though I don't think I would want to play too much of it, but like I just now like knowing the music's that good and like like having experienced what I have experienced, I totally get why that's a thing.
Yeah. I 3 and 4 both had really good music, but I wasn't as enthralled. Like they weren't as ambitious. So I wasn't really behind them making a dancing game. But when Persona 5, they're like, yeah, we're making dancing. I don't remember, Moonlight or Dancing All Morning. I don't remember. But I was like,
I think it was like 2 versions, like, and then they're
like
a combo pack.
But I was like, that makes sense. I could probably see that going down and being kind of a good
and
thing.
you can play VR, so you can like dance to the Persona music in VR. Like,
that's pretty sick. It don't get better than that. Cool. Well, we covered that. That takes that off the notch. I'm gonna skip one of those, and we'll save that for the next time.
okay.
What are your thoughts on the Confidant System? And those who don't know, that used to be the social link system, which is how you become friends with people and build their relationships. What are your thoughts?
To be honest, I haven't grasped it yet.
It's
happened. I know, like I've gotten some with the fuck's his name? Sujiro?
Yeah. Sujiro or something. I'll look it up.
Sujiro. I know he's voiced by the guy that voiced Nier, which makes me laugh. I have gotten some with him, and it's like unlocked. It's like
Sujiro,
fly over him, and like it unlocks, and it's like you gained one thing, and whatever. I've done it with Ryuji too, but I haven't fully picked up on it yet. Can you explain some more about it?
I don't want to ruin it for you because part of the fun of it is learning the limits and learning seeing how it grows and when it grows. But it's definitely key to the game, and it's been key to the game for as long as I've been playing it, again, since 3. So they used to be called social links, and it helps you. For one, if you're trying to bang one of them, there you go. But the other part is
that nurse is on
the more important gameplay perspective is that it unlocks things and makes you stronger when used in concert with that person. So,
Atlas. All I'm saying is that if you're listening, if you want to send me a body pillow of that nurse character, I will definitely use it.
Wait. The nurse character or the doctor character?
The doctor character. Yeah, the doctor. She's a doctor.
Oh my god. God damn, I can't wait for you to keep playing this game.
Don't spoil anything for me.
I won't. This game is freaking weird.
That's so far. That's been one of the most memorable, I guess, side characters so far. That I can think of is her. She's just like, yeah, I'll sell drugs to kids.
You're like, can you sell me drugs? I probably shouldn't, Please?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you need it for? Cool. Okay.
Makes sense. Checks out in my book.
Here, test this drug, and I'll give you more drugs.
Yeah.
What? Pass out.
We'll go into some of these side characters later. I wanted to save those for the other one so we can have more discussion on that when you open that up a little more. But my God, um, I think that's all I have for this one. Let's just talk about how it ends. It ends with you stealing his heart. Turns out it's his gold medals, and you got to go on this elaborate trip through his castle to steal it. But before you do that, you do a calling card, and you let Ryuji do it. This is the main plot of point of the game is to keep continuously do this. You're going to do this over and over again with different story elements. What is your overall take on this method of, you meet your villain, you go through his castle, you send him a calling card, you steal his heart. I like the heist theme. That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
and then, what do you think?
It's like I'm trying to like put it in the words. It's like I'm watching Ocean's 11 on Funimation.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's like there's certain aspects here, and I'm like, oh, that's definitely like a heist thing, like getting mapping out the mapping out the environment, and finding like the castle, going through the castle and getting the safe rooms, and figuring out the shortcuts and stuff. And okay, that's you have to scout out the environment, scout the area and stuff. The calling card thing, I don't know if it makes sense to me yet. Like, I know like Morgana said, like you have to send a calling card for the desires to appear, right? So that they're like
the prize thing to appear.
Yeah, so like they're like made aware that it can be stolen or something. Then
it's a huge stretch. It's a huge stretch.
Yeah. I was like, that part of it. I was like, is that necessary? Like, do we? Okay, whatever. So I just roll with that. But I do like the fact that they have like a bit of pre-planning. Like you said, you're given this month before you're expelled, so you basically have a month to plan, like to figure out the layout of the dungeon, to plan your strategy, to go back and forth between the real world and stuff, to go get supplies and everything. That's very smart.
Yeah, it's a creative way to give you a timed run through a dungeon that has a decisive ending, but it doesn't let you just meander there forever. I mean, it kind of does, because you can take a day and run in there and just freaking farm like a monster. But
yeah, you could really beat it in like one run.
But
technically,
it'd be hard with one. You could probably do it with two if you really pushed. One would be very difficult. I'm thinking about the first run that you have. I don't know. I got about halfway through and then had to pull out.
I mean, like when the game opens up and gives you that time limit.
Oh yeah. You can do it right then. Yeah, for sure.
You can just do it then. Or you can take the thing that kind of threw me off was like no matter what, you still got to wait out those days.
Yeah, and that's what makes it kind of weird. Like, because it puts you in like this weird holding pattern. That's where you're supposed to build up like social links and build up your stats, which we'll get into more in the next one. Kind of a weird. It puts itself in a weird position, which you can understand why it does that, but it's like, well, now I just gotta wait, and like every day at this point is kind of worthless. So I'll just I'll throw it away somehow. Did you do it pretty quickly?
Yeah, I had about a week left.
Yeah.
Which there was like a week of like, well, I guess I'm gonna hang out with Ryuji today. Well,
used to run.
I guess I can go to that store. Yeah, you like running, huh? He's like, and I'm just like, you like to run, huh?
Yeah, it's interesting. And now the last thing I guess to talk about. What do you think about that boss fight?
It was something.
How about the imagery? So he's this weird, like monstrous looking creature that's giant, and he's got a gauntlet that within it is like half people's lower bodies, and he picks them up and eats them. and gains health.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, and it should be said, like all throughout his castle so far, you've seen like what looks like girls in like school, like school athletic uniforms and like elevators and stuff like that. So it's just adds that like imagery of like this weird obsession he has.
Yeah, it
Um,
it's very dark and borderline inappropriate, but like I don't know, I get mixed feelings because they're clearly in high school and they're clearly sexualized, but I I don't know. It's done to a point where it's not that
well,
bad.
there's a cultural disconnect too because
Hmm.
of the legal age, and that's part of the world and the legal age here in America, so um, there's a lot of and that's also like an escapist thing for like which I don't want to go into this topic too much, but an escapist thing for like Japanese businessmen, is like the whole schoolgirl thing, so I think that's like a common trope
Mm.
over there as where here if you said something about like, oh, I like schoolgirls, you'd be like fucking thrown into a van and fucking hauled off,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So that's definitely a cultural disconnect.
Yeah, I try not to throw up a lot of flags when I see it because I get it that they're used to being a little younger, and I get the message isn't that it's that's the whole point, kind of, is that the message is that kind of thing is creepy and bad. So
Yeah.
all right, point taken. I probably could have used less imagery, but it's still a point taken. I get it. I get it. Kind of a cool boss fight. You He keeps summoning more people that are characters within the game, but obviously they're fake. They're his cognitions, and they keep healing him and giving him superpowers. And did you take her out? What's her name? The girl that tried to commit suicide.
What about her?
Did you kill her?
Um, did I kill her? I don't know. I think so.
You kind of have to, I think. Otherwise,
Yeah.
he's pretty much
Yeah, I think so.
invincible.
I'm trying to remember exactly what I did during the boss fight. I know during the boss fight you have to like have somebody sneak off at one point,
Yeah, yeah.
which I made a mistake the first time. I tried to use on, and that was a bad idea. I don't know why that's the first character I tried to use was on to go
Used on, and why was that bad?
because he's like, I don't see you over there on, and he's like,
Oh,
keeping a close eye
he
on her.
sees her. He's got her.
Yeah,
Oh, that's a
yeah,
really good
yeah.
thing. I didn't even know that. I always send
Well, 'cause
Ryuji.
at the time, she was my in terms of combat, she was the one that could help me the least in that situation. So I decided to send her out because Ryuji's a fucking powerhouse, and I was using Morgana as my healer.
Hmm.
And I was just there, so I was like, okay, on, yeah, I'm gonna send you. And yeah, you can't send on because he's like, oh, did I see you up there on?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That is so funny. That's such a cool little, like, they added that. I always love it when people add mixed gameplay and story together. They're able
Oh
to
yeah,
do
no,
that.
it was definitely like a surreal moment to where I kind of like I was like, why did I think that would work? Like because like it's a video game,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
I wasn't thinking about that from like the practical sense of like in this situation, this character that's clearly obsessed with this with this young girl would of course be keeping an eye on this young girl. So I was like,
Wow,
I didn't think about that.
that's phenomenal. I had no clue that even happened.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Um,
He's just like, I'm keeping my eye. Don't think I don't see you. He's
yeah.
just staring at her.
So I ended up having to send Ryuji instead, but because
Gotcha.
I needed Morgana to be my healer.
All right. Well, that's it for today. I can't
Hey,
wait. Oh, what's up?
no, I said hey.
Oh,
I was like,
hey.
hey.
I can't wait to keep going with this. We'll be at our own timeline, at our own pace. So don't think we got to
Yeah, who
rush.
knows?
But the next one will be out when it's out. It'll probably be a lot shorter than this one, but we do have a lot more ground to cover. So
Did we want to? Are we not going to talk about anything that happens after this, or like
you mean
that
at the rest?
resolve? Or are we gonna do the
Oh
rest
yeah,
of it later?
you're right. Let's totally do that. The story does end with Kamoshida revealing at the gym to the entire school that he's changed his heart
Yeah, and he kind of confesses what he's done, which we've touched upon it a little bit, but like he's like abused his volleyball and track team, whatever. He caused a girl to try to commit suicide. He's tried to like sexually harass Lady on. Like he's done so much bad shit up to
Yeah.
this point, and then he's like gone. He goes missing from the school for a couple days, and then he comes to that I don't know, it was like a meeting or pep rally, whatever it was, and he's just like, I did it all.
Yeah. It's pretty dramatic, even to the point where he says he's going to kill himself. And then
Yeah.
they kind of they talk him down by saying, you need to pay for everything you've done. And he says, yeah,
Oh
you're
yeah,
right.
because it's like that's the easy way out.
Yeah. Very interesting. It makes you wonder how these other things are going to resolve themselves later.
Yeah, it makes me. But again, I think as the first chapter, I think he works because he seems like such a clean cut, villain. Like he seems like um, definitely a bad guy, and I'm interested to see if the other characters that we get involved with are like that, or like if they're all like very like, oh, he's definitely a bad guy, or or oh, he's definitely a villain, or if they kind of play with that a little bit. Um, if they're not all as cut and dry as Kamoshida was with like his like desires.
Yeah, yeah. That'll be interesting. Maybe it's a perspective thing. We'll be able to see that. And then after that, you do go to get some food. But the
Hell yeah.
most important part of all that is you get your name, the Phantom Thieves, or whatever you choose to name your team. I think the default is like the Phantoms or something.
Yeah, do you know what I name him?
What'd you name it?
Phantoms.
Same. So I give
Yeah.
two shits about that. But you are now the Phantom Thieves, and you will go on and continue your adventure, saving the world one soul at a time. So,
Man,
what'd you think? What'd you think, man?
On could eat some cake. I'm really engaged, and at this point, I think I'm about 13 hours or
Okay.
so in. Um, and for an RPG like this, which I played other RPGs and stuff that I really like, but for an RPG like this, for 13 hours to be just like the starting point, and for me to still be engaged, like that's fucking phenomenal. Um, and I can attest to this. I've actually I sort of cheated on this because I played the intro up until halfway through the first dungeon twice now. Because I wanted to see what the perspective would be for somebody that's never played video games. So I played it with a family member who's not into these types of games,
Hmm.
and we played up for a little bit, and I was just like, I was like, told him prior, I was like, the story's engaging, it's got cool themes, and like you're going to people's like subconsciouses, pretty much and stuff. And I was playing with them, and like even they were engaged. So I think this first 13 hours I've played is like some of the smartest RPG
Hmm.
intros I've ever experienced.
Interesting. Yeah, my girlfriend seemed kind of engaged. I mean, I'm not gonna say she was like, "Whoa, what this happened, this happened," but she was kind of keeping up and doing her own thing. But it seemed like she was semi interested, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's not video games aren't her thing either, but it's definitely one of the more interesting games out there. Not every episode's gonna be so sexualized, so you'll see some different takes on what
Damn
evil
it.
people do. But
Oh, sorry.
no!
Damn it.
But we'll certainly see some of it. So a lot of good stuff coming up. So yeah, we'll be doing more in the future, and hopefully, month, 2 months, however long we got to take. But we'll get the next chapter of this out. I'm not sure exactly how we'll break it up. If we're going at a good pace, maybe we'll do 2 at a time. Not really sure. We'll see how long it takes us, and we'll get there. Thanks for joining me today, man. This was awesome.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm here. I'm on the RPG archive. I'm now a RPG character.
Yeah. What's your stat?
Like my class.
Yeah.
Um, Mapper.
Mapper, and what stat does he use?
Spectrobes.
This game is not yet archived because we're still doing it in a chapter format, but by the time we're done with this, I can't wait to have Persona 5 in the archive completed. So,
Oh,
can't wait to do it
it's
with
like
you, man. And I love that you're
like the
enjoying it.
is it like the Disney Vault?
This is the vault. Yeah.
You can lock it away in the Disney Vault, never to be seen again
Yeah. Yeah.
until we
Anyway,
need a profit.
thanks so much. And I'll see you next time on RPG Archive. Say bye to the people.
Bye.